Thank you everyone for joining us today on this call. It's our weekly Wellness Wednesday call, and we are just here to really share some powerful information about some amazing life-changing health products and a little bit about our company that we're with. And we're going to have a few people share some stories and testimonials at the end. So welcome to the call. My name is Alisan Parnes, and I am a veterinarian certified in veterinary acupuncture, also a mom of two, and have partnered with this amazing biohacking company called LifeVantage. So just to tell you a little bit about LifeVantage and what we're about is we really specialize and are pioneering a field called nutrigenomics. And this is something, what that means is we're using nutrients and nutrition to affect our gene expression. So back in the old days, people thought that we needed to supplement our bodies with things that it was deficient in. But what science has taught us is that our bodies actually can do the work itself if we just give it the right nutrition to activate certain pathways. And these genetic pathways are very powerful when it comes to turning on our survival genes, when it comes to helping the body heal itself, and also to slow down the aging process. So we're really focused on slowing down aging and targeting specific pathways that are involved in aging. So we have our flagship brand is called Protandim. We have 3 different Protandim products that target these different pathways in the body that flip the switch on our genetic expression on these genes that are very powerful. And when we do that, we reduce something called oxidative stress in the body. And I just want to share a little bit about what oxidative stress is, why it's a big deal if you've never heard of it. And what it is it's accumulation of free radicals in the body. As they build up over time, as we age, our bodies are unable to combat the amount of free radicals that we have. So it's almost like a house fire that's burning. And taking traditional antioxidants and eating foods like blueberries, and fruits and vitamin C, unfortunately aren't powerful enough tools to neutralize these free radicals. But our own body makes a system of enzymes. And these actually will neutralize 1 million free radicals every second of every day. And so what we do with Protandim is we turn on this pathway called NRF2 that now we're kicking out these enzymes in high production so that we can scavenge free radicals. And oxidative stress is really a big deal because it is the #1 cause of aging. It's also been linked to over 200 common disease processes that are literally everything you can think of that you would not want in your body. Things like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, inflammatory conditions, autoimmune diseases, neurological conditions. So oxidative stress is really at the core of these things. And if we can learn how to address that before some of these things happen as we age, then it's going to give us a much better chance of potentially slowing that process down and hopefully avoiding it, right? That's what we all hope, to be able to age gracefully, to have our health span equal our lifespan. And so that's what we're really targeting is just prolonging that healthy life, as long as we possibly can. And so with that, we also focus on mitochondria. Mitochondria are organelles in every cell in our body that produce 95% of our body's energy. And without mitochondria, we would not be alive. Some of the most toxic drugs in the world target mitochondria. So literally, if our mitochondria were wiped out, we would be dead in less than half a second. So mitochondria are huge when it comes to organ function, for the energy for our heart to pump, the energy for our brain to work properly, for our neurons to speak to each other, for just to be able to get up and move, for our muscles to work. So it's important that we keep our mitochondria healthy. And unfortunately, our mitochondria are very, very susceptible to oxidative stress, and they get damaged and diseased as well. So mitochondrial dysfunction, if you've never heard of that, it's a pretty, it's a buzzword, term out there, because it is linked to many diseases as well, including cancer and many neurologic conditions. In fact, we're going to be really focused on talking about the brain today and neurologic health. And mitochondrial dysfunction is linked to pretty much every mental, psychological, and neurological disease that exists. There's been a lot of studies into this, so things like Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, autism, even anxiety and depression are all linked to mitochondrial dysfunction. And oxidative stress ties into that. So it's important to address both of those root causes, and that's really what our products do. They are science-based products that are all natural, which is huge. I mean, literally, we're giving the body nutrients essentially that activate these pathways, and so we're able to reduce oxidative stress. In fact, Protandim NRF2 has 26 peer-reviewed studies showing that how it works, and when it reduces oxidative stress, we see in the first 30 days it reduces it on average of 40%, which has never been seen with anything else on the planet and proven scientifically. So, that's a huge deal. Washington State University put out a study talking about NRF2 activation being one of the most therapeutic and preventative breakthroughs in the history of medicine. So we're really on the forefront of such a huge shift in health and wellness and how we can activate our own bodies. And we have a couple of people that are going to share their incredible stories today. Specifically, again, wanted to talk about the brain, because without our brain, where are we? I know some of us feel like we're losing our minds these days anyway, so it's important to give our brains good stuff. We need brain food, we need concentration, we need focus, we need better moods, right? And so all of these things, it's really important, and what we put into our bodies affect how we think, how we feel. I mean, you can probably notice a difference by certain foods you eat, but there are certain nutrients that are important for the brain to function properly, for the neurons to communicate to each other and to the rest of the body, and even for resiliency and healing. After brain injuries, it's important that the brain can bounce back, and so giving the brain these types of nutrients is going to help assist itself in its own healing. So I just would like to say that, we can't make any medical claims that these products cure, treat, or mitigate disease, but I do want people to understand the power of NRF2 activation, NRF1 activation, what activating our own body's cellular pathways can do for our health. And with that, I just would like to introduce Rick Lilly. He's got a powerful story. So Rick, if you wouldn't mind, just introduce yourself and just let us know a little bit about you and how your life has been changed with this.
Well, Allison, I appreciate you letting me tag in on this call. And, I was born and raised in Clarinda, Iowa. So Southwest Iowa is where I'm from. And we've probably got a lot of people, 87 that I've from all over the country. So I'm married, been married, 23 years to my wife, Penny. And she teaches the RN program at a local college here in town. And there's a little story behind that too. So anyway, back in 2015, 2016 timeframe, I was serving as a police officer, then switched over to become a deputy sheriff, and I had fully intended to retire there, and then I had suffered 2 strokes and 2 seizures. And the first stroke that I had, I was mowing a churchyard, and it was pretty hot that day. I mean, it's probably like 95, and I was going good, and then I noticed that I had started not sweating, and I thought that was odd, and so I just kept mowing, and then I just lost the feeling of my left arm, and I thought, maybe that's because of the vibration on the mower. So I kind of played that off, thinking it was no big deal, and then everything started just to close in on me. I mean, I'd never experienced anything like this before, and Then what I'm about to tell you afterwards is kind of like hit and miss, because I can't remember much about that other than I can't remember loading the lawnmower into my truck and driving the 4 blocks home. I was going in and out of consciousness. I thought I was going to die on the road. Pulled up into my driveway like I knew what I was doing. And long story short, the neighbor's dog, I always thank God for a Labrador Retriever. He come to my side, and he stayed right at my side until the neighbor come and got me. So that was my first stroke. And the last stroke that I had left me with no speech. I couldn't read, no driving skills, no math skills, to the point where they sent me to Mayo Clinic because they couldn't figure out why I was having the strokes. And the type of strokes that I had were called ischemic strokes. And and it was, both of my strokes were on the left side, but my right side wasn't affected. So I was kind of like kind of an oddball there. So it took me a while to get everything back. I mean, I went to a rehab center called Madonna out in Western Omaha, and they taught me how to just basically talk again. And it took me a while to do that. And, I remember the nurse said, you can do this. You'll be able to talk again. And I thought, man, I just sometimes just bawled myself to sleep because I don't know. It was scary. And so in between that time, my wife was called by a friend out in Michigan, and she was explaining what was going on with me, and she says, "Oh my," she said, I think Rick needs to try this NRF2 activator. And we didn't know what it was at that time, and so I did that. And I tell you what, when you're talking a change of life, it has given me my life back. When you're talking about the pathways, I find it, there's sometimes no words to put to it other than I feel better. I went to here about a couple of months ago to the neurologist, and he said, your first stroke is almost completely healed. He says, your second stroke that you had is getting there. He says, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to continue doing it. And so I told him a little bit about NRF2 activation, and so yeah, that it's a crazy time. But I'm probably right now. I've been telling people I'm probably about 90% from where I was. And that's a long ways from not being able to talk, not being able to read, not being able to drive, not being able to do simple math. And so I thank God every day that a friend of ours just helped us out. So.
Wow. Thank you so much, Rick. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that. I'd read your testimonial before, but just even hearing you kind of speak about it is just so powerful. And listening to you, I would never have guessed that you're two-time stroke survivor. That is unbelievable. And just, those stories like that is what keeps me wanting to share with everybody because, oops, sorry, I got a call there. But keeps me wanting to share with everybody because I honestly feel guilty if I know somebody's struggling with something with their health and I don't share this with them, because you just never know what kind of difference you're going to make in people's lives. And I love the story about the dog staying with you. Labradors are my breed. I've always had them. So that is,
Allison, if I could real quick, I want to, just give a little bit of hope to those people who've had strokes or seizures or any type of that illness. There is hope, and it comes. Sometimes we don't know where that comes from, but to be able to learn about and what NRF pathway is doing for me, activator, is a blessing. And so if I can share that story to everybody, I'm going to do it. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Rick. Well, we have another incredible story of hope that I would like for everyone to hear from Miss Sunshine Diaz, who has had a incredible brain injury, and she is just a testimony. So Sunshine, if you can unmute and just share your story a little bit.
Okay, I just cut off there for a minute, but I'm back on, so it's like, Anyway, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be able to share, because what an amazing thing to go through a stroke. For me, it was a hemorrhage. So 6 years ago, I was just finishing up my second yoga teacher training and working at my husband's studio, Tree Sound Studios, and my daughter was 3 years old, and I was just busy, just going full time, not getting enough sleep, and got a horrible headache that lasted for a whole week or weekend. And anyway, what ended up happening is I had a major brain hemorrhage, and what ended up, they got me to the second hospital and took off a third of my skull. I don't remember any of this, which is kind of a good thing for me, not for other people, but I went through a huge adjustment where I didn't know how to talk, walk. I had 2 words in my mind. There was no thinking. There was I had to learn how to write and spell and math, and I mean, I had to learn everything over again. It was pretty amazing. I mean, it was luckily I was very, present, but that was it. There was no beginning, no end before. It was just, I'm right here, right now. So I was very positive. I was just graced by God that that's what I was. I just stayed with it and saying, I know I'm getting better. I know I'm getting better. And I did really well. Besides that, my skull that they put back on there was decided to dissolve into my body. So I then had to get a plastic skull, and had an infection, and then had to have that skull off, and had to go another summer without a skull, or half of a skull. So that, got a little frustrated there, but anyway, I got through that. And so I was learning and learning, but there was a lot of things I didn't learn. I mean, I was still having to learn all those things I was talking about. And so I did pretty good, but I knew I wasn't there yet. I still had to keep going, and I never stop. But so at 3 years, I did know I had no feeling on the whole right side of my body. Left brain, right side of my body, no feeling. I burned myself, I stepped on myself. I mean, things happen that, really, you really notice it when you can't feel your body at all. Along with not feeling my body, there was a lot of just with your thoughts, it's just things not connecting, and you want the connection. So anyway, I ran into a good friend of mine, and she just said, this has changed my life. You got to look into this. And I said, I trust you. Okay. And I said, I'm trying this for me, my dog, my husband. And so I did. And what the first thing I noticed when I was taking the NRF1, I was having to sleep so much. Healing the brain, you have to sleep. You got to heal your body. So sleeping is what I knew how to do. That was the only thing I knew how to do. But having a little child who needs your time and energy, my God, I started waking up and having energy and not having to sleep so much and having to take breaks. I was like, something's going on. So that was pretty exciting. And then around a month, I mean, it was right there. I started having feeling in my right side. And I was like, something's inside of me. I was like, something's going on. I mean, it was like things like crawling down my arm. And I mean, it was just wild. It's like something's grabbing my leg. And I don't know. And so I was like, something happening. And I just kept going with it. And it was gradual. It wasn't just like all of a sudden it was back. It was gradual. But I was able to tune in just to feel that. And I know at 6 months, I had my right foot fall asleep 2 times. I was so excited to feel that feeling of it's waking up. And then at a year, I have my right toe. I got a big sticker in it, and it hurt. I was like, I'm feeling pain. I was so excited, like pain, and taking it out, no pain. So that was just amazing. And so the other thing was like starting to remember names, starting to connect things that weren't before. And I was just like, this is amazing. I got to tell people about this. And then I had to tell my husband because it's like, I'm taking it. And, it's like, I'm just like, you better take it. I know it's working, and it took him about a year to start seeing these results in his blood, going to the doctor. And so that was like, that gave me a lot of like, see, it did work, being able to get test results saying, you don't need these medications anymore. That was huge. And my dogs, it's like there's so much healing going on with my dog, my husband, and even with my daughter during these times in 2020, like I have something to keep her safer. And so we just want to feel safe. So anyway, I'm so happy to share, and thank you.
Oh, thank you. And you live up to your name. You're such a ray of sunshine, and just your positive attitude through even all that you've been through. It just amazes me. And I love you. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to move on to our next speaker, which is Alice Beretta. Dr. Alice, she's an equine veterinarian, and she has an amazing story about her son.
Stay where you are.
Alice, if you could just unmute and share a little bit.
Hi, Allison. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on the call. I did hear someone that may have been unmuted for a second. So if you're not muted, if you wouldn't mind just pressing the mute in the lower left-hand corner. Maybe they already did. It sounds quiet again. But gosh, those 2 stories were incredible. I guess if there's one thing that I want to leave with everyone is, once you hear this information and you understand it, you just have to share with others, because you just don't know whose lives you can impact in such an incredible way. And as Allison said, I'm an equine veterinarian. I work on horses, and I love our Pro Tandem NRF2. I consider it an amazing tool in my truck. I just love it, and it makes such a huge difference. And it is something that I'm so thankful that I have in my practice. But there's another side of NRF2 that I don't share very often. And, being a mom of 2 boys and owning my own practice and being on call 24/7, my life is really crazy. And when my oldest son was 2 or so, he wasn't verbal. And, we really started to notice some developmental things. And I would talk to my pediatrician and kind of bounce things back and forth. And there were some delays that we were noticing that were very concerning. But I just kept telling myself, every child develops at their own rate. And, he had in some areas he was advanced, in some areas he was definitely delayed. And social interaction and language was one of those. And I busted my rear, because when we go to school to learn a trade or a job, I went to school for 8 years to become a veterinarian, and then you practice medicine forever, and you get really good at it. I didn't go to school to become a parent, and I definitely did not go to school to become the parent of a son on the autism spectrum. So it was hard for me. I had so much to learn and so little time. And I felt like I didn't have the tools that I needed. I didn't have the skills that I needed to be his mom. I just, that job, being a parent, is so much more important than any other job. And I was at a loss. And I put him in the most amazing little Montessori school where they work with their hands. They spend a lot of time outside. They cook in the classroom. It was the most wonderful environment for him, but it still wasn't enough. And after his 5th birthday, LifeVantage was introduced to me, and I started to read and dive into the science. And the more I read, the more I realized I wanted my son to start taking it. And the science was incredible. There are so many studies on oxidative stress and ADHD, oxidative stress and autism, oxidative stress and anxiety. And I knew that if he took Protandim, that I could decrease his oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days. And the research was there, and I knew that I had to for him to start taking it. But it was really hard to find a way to get a 5-year-old to swallow a pill. That was the hard part. We had to work and work and work on that. But I tell you what, when we did, it was incredible. He had some sensory processing troubles, and one of his biggest nightmares were shoes. Having to wear shoes, put his shoes on. That was just something we struggled with so much, and he would be in tears, and I'd have to put his shoes on for him, and then he would have to run all the way to the mailbox and run back and then get in the car, and then he would take his shoes off in the car, and we'd get to school and sit on the steps and cry and couldn't get his shoes on. And he had been taking Protandim for 5 days when he put his shoes on in the car with, like with the seatbelt and everything, that like kind of tight, uncomfortable environment. He put his shoes on in the car by himself, and all I did was ask. And usually when I would ask, he would throw the shoes across the car and say, I can't do that, Mama. And so when he put his shoes on just by himself, without any frustration, without any anxiety, without me having to do it for him, I was floored. It was unbelievable. It was incredible. It changed our lives. Like, that's all I can say, is it changed our lives. And it got better after that, like better and better. He was, when he finished that kindergarten year, he wasn't reading at all. The teacher was very concerned because all the other kids were. He was the only one who was delayed. And he went into the 1st grade, and by the end of the 1st grade, he was reading at the 4th grade level. And he just finished up the 4th grade, and he's reading at the 9th grade level. So he is still the same kid. We never went the medication route that his pediatrician had talked to me about. We really have just stuck with Protandim and try to nutritionally support him as well as we can. And it has made an incredible difference in his life without changing him at all. He is who he is. He still likes rules and, things to be black and white, things to be fair. And I have no doubt in my mind that this has supported him like nothing else could have. And that this was the missing puzzle piece to help him become the best version of himself. And there's still room for growth, you guys. And I have to keep telling him, if you don't stretch and if you don't get uncomfortable, you're not going to grow. And I stretch, I stretch him every single day. I make him order his own stuff at the coffee shop, even though he doesn't want to. I make him interact with my clients, even though he'd rather sit in the car. But this has given us the nutritional tools that he needed, and I'm so grateful for that. And then I have to just add just a little bit about the company, and it is the most integrous, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. People working together to improve each other's lives. I've never been a part of anything like it. And it's so much bigger than I am, so much bigger than my son and him becoming the best version of himself. But I have to say, being a part of this company has helped me grow so that I can help my kids grow. And financially, it has helped us in a way that I can work less and spend more time with them. And that is huge. And it all boils down to, you know, as much as I love my job as an equine veterinarian, my biggest job is raising 2 boys that will become humans that make this world a better place. And that is so important to me. And I'm so grateful to be on this call with all of you. And thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh my gosh, Alice, thank you. And there's so many comments coming up in the chat, just how amazing your story is. And just, you know, we know, a lot of us know just how the horses have benefited, you know, from Protandem, but not a whole lot of people knew your story with Jack. So I appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, it's just when it comes to our kids, you know, we want to do everything possible. And when we see, I mean, a lot of my story is with my own children and seeing results. They didn't have anything, it was more their kidneys that were affected. But, you know, the thing about oxidative stress is it affects every organ in the body and every tissue. And so no matter, you know, what kind of ailment you have going on and you go look at oxidative stress, there's typically a link. So there's just so many opportunities to help people. And I just love, especially for our children, that we have something that's non-pharmaceutical. You know, so many kids that are having ADHD and on the spectrum are being prescribed all of these medications, and, you know, who knows, maybe they wouldn't necessarily need them if they had an alternative. So thank you for sharing that. And I know we were going to have Daisy come on and speak, but I'm not sure if she's on the call. Daisy, if you are, can you just unmute and let us know if you're here? She may not be. I know she was in the middle of some craziness with her family. But guys, I think that really, those stories are just so incredible. I would just encourage you to reach out to the person who invited you to this call and get some more information. We have such incredible wealth of information out there. We have a Facebook group that has a lot more stories like this and many others. We have studies, we have videos and things that we can share with you. This month, our company is actually offering a promotion, which is a neurohacking bundle, basically all of these goodies that help to activate these pathways in our brains. And so if you're interested in that, ask the person who invited you and they can get you that information. But I just appreciate everybody for being on, for sharing your story. And with that, we will go ahead and say goodbye.